community in Anne Arundel, Ocala. Plus, of course, a splash of sports as well. Now, here's your host, Tom.
Good Monday morning. Welcome to Ocala Talks on a Monday. On a Monday that feels like football is never going to end. Galen, from Life South joins us. Galen, this one extra game added. Good morning to you, by the way. Hope your weekend was great.
Good morning. Yeah.
This one extra game added to the NFL season makes it feel like it's another 2.5 months long.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's, what do we have, 2 more weeks? 3 more weeks?
No, we got, they're at 9-4, 10-2, 10-3, so we got 4 weeks.
4 more weeks.
Then the playoffs.
Yeah. Then the playoffs. It'd be one thing if the regular season meant more, right? If only the top 2 teams from each conference made it, it would be something. But instead of 8 teams from each conference, it's
only 7 teams, Galen.
That's right, because they give the top team a bye. Yeah, it's just too much.
It's only 14 of the 32. It's not quite half, but it's 2 away from being half.
Yeah, and again, I for some reason everybody loves playoff football, but the divisional rounds are very rarely any good, right? Because there's one team that's far better than the other one, both record-wise and talent-wise, and it's always that, that wild card that has to travel to, I don't know, Carolina, for example. Carolina doesn't have a chance in this game. I don't care if they're hosting. The team they're playing is far better. And you get a lot of those matchups. So if it only matters if you're in that town that somehow made the playoffs, then it's everything. So.
But is it really if you're what's the losing record now? 8-9 would that, and you still make the playoffs? Because that's a real possibility.
Yeah.
Can you get it? I mean, they get excited about that in the NBA when a team with 4 games under 500 gets the 8th seed. So
far worse than the NBA. The NBA has the, and by the way, and I think the ratings for NBA games dictate that too. They're like, nobody bothers to watch pro basketball really until February, March, because they're all the load management. And by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but all of the commentators and nobody talks about that anymore. It's just an acceptable part of the game now. And again, it's just tells you how diluted the regular season is. So I guess they felt they could sell more tickets if they extended the regular season for the NFL. But when they decided, I'm like, I hate this. I can already tell because it's already a battle of attrition.
Yeah,
right. That's what football is. It's a battle of attrition, and they just made it worse.
Let's be honest. It was a much better game, and a lot of people younger than us won't remember this, but it was, in my opinion, it was a much better game when it was 14 games.
Oh, I completely agree with that.
It was a much better game.
The game meant more. And I think only 4 teams made it from each conference. There are fewer teams. But, I'm a big believer in that less is usually more if you have playoffs. Right, and I think NASCAR is finding that out. NASCAR with their playoff system, which is so long, and the regular season doesn't really mean anything if you just make the playoffs and you get enough wins and all that. It's so complicated. But I think that's part of what's wrong with NASCAR.
I liked it better when you had 3 divisional champions, and I know there's 4 divisions now, but back when there was 14 teams. There was 3 divisional champions and 1 wild card team. The 1 wild card team played the worst division champion. The other 2 got a first week bye. Is that how it worked? No. Yeah, I think it worked that way.
There was no.
There was no bye. No, there was no bye. The best team played the wild card team, and the two other teams played each other. That's right. Yeah, there was no bye. So then you had 1 week of basically semifinals, 1 week of finals, then we're ready for the Super Bowl.
That's exactly right. And I get it. There's more teams, and so if you wanted to have that extra round, I guess I'd be okay with it. Only if you shorten the regular season.
They've only added four new teams since they went from 14 games.
Yeah, I agree.
Actually, they didn't add 4 new teams. They've only added 2 new teams because the Seahawks and the Bucks were added in '76, and they went from 14 games in like '80. So actually, they've only added 2 teams.
That's fair.
They've only added 2 teams.
Well, it'll be, and the Bucks are going to clinch early. The Patriots are going to clinch early. It'll be interesting, and Bill Belichick's not a big believer in like resting guys. He believes that if you play the game, you should play to win it and all that. It'll be interesting how people handle it because traditionally it's been a 50-50 guess because if you rest your guys and then they come out flat, it's because you rested them.
Yeah.
It'll be really interesting to see how they handle it.
And
you can already see the injuries are piling up with Lamar Jackson getting hurt and, it seems like every team's got 1 or 2 guys that are really hurt.
Dinged up pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question as we're talking about football. Who is the worst person in Jacksonville? Is the head coach the worst person in Jacksonville, or is Shad Khan, the owner, the worst person in the Jacksonville Jaguar system?
Ooh. Well, Shad's just an owner, right? He's not supposed to be a football guy.
But isn't he in charge of this train wreck?
Yeah, he hired a guy that is a, historical train wreck. I didn't expect him to burn out his welcome this fast, but when you're asking guys that you hired basically to tell me what you've ever done to win, is unless we're getting a really bad side of that story, it sounds terrible.
I mean, if what is to be said is true, and the coach in Jacksonville is asking his assistant coaches that, by the way, he put together. Nobody held a gun to his head and told him who to hire. He put this staff together, and then 12 games in on a season that is just horrible, he's questioning their ability to win and what have they ever done in their careers. What the hell have you ever done in the NFL?
Yeah, it doesn't. Let's see how the season ends. Like, unless they win like 2 out of the next 3 or however many games there are, I think he's gone.
Well, it just seems to me that he's making the same argument without tongue in cheek that I make all the time. When friends of mine, that played Division I, that won national championships and all, they go. Like Troy Sadowski played at Georgia. He won a bunch of conference championships at Georgia, played in the NFL. He ribs me about Georgia Southern, and I tell him, yeah, I won 2 national championships. What'd you win? He goes, an SEC championship. And I know that that's better than my 2 national championships in the competition of football, although I love that I won 2 national championships. In the grand scheme of things, winning the SEC championship is a little better than winning a 1AA national championship in the game of football. Not to me, but in the game of football it is. And for Urban Meyer to go, what have y'all done lately? What have you done? I won national championships at college. Yeah, this ain't college, smart guy.
He's terrible. He was terrible everywhere he goes. He's a program killer. Takes years to overcome what he's done. The good thing is in the NFL, it's much easier to rebound, especially if they believe they have the quarterback that I think everybody believes they have. Then, you can bring somebody in there and kind of start over.
By the way, a quarterback who told his coach, when his coach put his Ohio State player in over the guy that was performing better, the quarterback goes, what are you doing? This guy's got to be on the field. He's the player. What are you? And a quarterback who's a rookie but still stood up in the locker room to his head coach and goes, what are you doing? this guy has to be on the field. He gives us our best chance to win, not your Ohio State guy. That goes a long way in the locker room, player-wise, for Trevor to stand up and say that to the head coach.
Yeah, and again, I believe that happened. From everything I'm reading, I don't know anybody.
Trevor Lawrence said it happened.
Who has? Yeah, I know. That's why I believe it. And again, that's the kind of thing that gets you fired, right? I mean, when you look at everything, he's off the field, and that's what a good leader, especially in the NFL, you have to be able to handle those things immediately, and that's the kind of thing that gets you fired really quickly. Urban Meyer. I mean, if you're a Jags fan, and there were a lot of Jags fans like, "Oh, we got our guy," and I'm like, "No, you didn't." The last thing you want with a young quarterback is a coach who's never coached in the NFL. He's never even been an assistant in the NFL. That's different. I mean, that's a completely different animal.
Well, I love that Shalise Young, who's a writer for Yahoo Sports, had one of the best lines in the world. He goes, "The NFL is no meritocracy, and Shad Khan's decision to hire Urban Meyer proves it." That's
True.
pretty good. That's pretty good. Now, here's two things are happening right now. People on the air that are listening to this, some people are laughing. Other people are going up and looking up the word meritocracy to see why we thought that was funny.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey,
You know what's interesting is there's only been really a handful of college coaches that have had any success in the NFL. And everybody wants to point to Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson was great because of his talent evaluation.
right. He was great because he was great because he duped Minnesota into giving him 11 draft picks for Herschel Walker.
Sure. And he surrounded himself with very, very experienced NFL coordinators.
Right.
And he's a special coach.
People People say Pete Carroll. I go, yeah, but Pete Carroll won on his second stint in the NFL. His first stint in the NFL,
That's
Pete
correct.
Carroll was terrible. He was horrible.
With the Jets.
He was
and
terrible.
the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, he was a great coordinator and everything in the NFL, but then he was terrible as a head coach. He went and learned how to
But
be
he
a
was
head coach
in
in
the
college.
NFL.
Right, he went and learned how to
Right,
be
but
a
he
head
was
coach in
in-
college and came back to the NFL.
That's right. But he was in the NFL.
Right.
Urban Meyer had never been a coordinator or anything in the NFL.
No. And I know why they did it, because of Gator fans, and he thought it would be ticket sales and everything. But before we go to break, I'm about to aggravate some Gator fans, and other Gator fans will be like, damn right. The mess that Florida is in right now, and when I say mess, I mean Will Muschamp, Jim McElwain, Dan Mullen, all this mess. I could make a very good argument that I could lay it all at the feet of Urban Meyer.
Well, no, I just think you keep hiring the wrong guys. That's like blaming George Bush for our current state.
Yeah, I can make that argument too, though, pal. I can make an argument that says George Bush, the country's been in a garbage can. I can make that argument too.
But it's 3 presidents later. That means 3 different guys had a chance to fix it and chose not to. So I'm sure you can make it. It's just not a very good argument.
Well, I always make good arguments. You just don't understand because you're not, you're not
I
on the same
understand them.
plane
They're
with me.
just not very good.
That's what it is. That's what it is. We need to take a break.
I'm on a higher plane.
We need to take a break. When we come back, more with Galen Unoff from Life South. You're listening to Ocala Talks, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM. This is WOCA, The Source.
The Source.
Are you or your loved one being released from a hospital and wondering how you'll manage? Inform your physician that you want to go to Palm Garden of Ocala at 2700 Southwest 34th Street for your rehabilitation. Palm Garden provides pain management, post-discharge follow-up, diabetic care, psychosocial support, and so much more. Plus, they even offer outpatient rehab. This award-winning care facility has a team of licensed professionals dedicated to enhancing your independence. Call 352-854-6262 today.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at pennflooring.com or come by our showroom, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, just over the bridge. Penn Flooring, quality customer service with a family touch.
Are you wasting time boxing up packages and going to the post office or the UPS store? Are you tired of not knowing what you'll pay when you get there? Just Ship offers pickup service and flat rate packaging and postage rates, which takes the guesswork out of shipping while saving you time and money. So quit wasting valuable time and money. Call or text Just Ship at 352-234-3840. That's 352-234-3840. Just Shipped.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Buffett. Save the Manatee Club has helped to protect imperiled manatees and their aquatic habitat for decades, but there's still more work to be done. Threats from cold weather, red tides, pollution, and boat collisions continue to take their toll on the manatee. So let's work together to safeguard the manatees and the places they call home. Be the friend they need. Visit SaveTheManatee.org. Thank you.
Now you've done it. Have you lost your mind? He's back. And you're listening again. A legend in his own mind. Don't believe me? Just ask him. Here's Tom Schmitz live on WOCA. The Source.
Welcome back to Ocala Talks. On a Monday, a very nice sunny Monday, we didn't get the terrible, terrible storms that the Midwest and the upper South got over the weekend. You know, I heard a tape of a woman. She was on social media, Instagram and Facebook, asking for people to come help rescue her. She was at her job laying under a wall. She was pinned under a wall for about 7 hours. She and her coworkers were rescued out of the warehouse they were in, but just you see stories like that all over Kentucky where tornadoes rip through. They fear over 100 will be dead. The destruction is just massive. And, every year, tornado season, they widen Tornado Alley more and more. Now Tornado Alley, they say, goes all the way from Louisiana up to Illinois now. Heart goes out to all those people in the areas that were stricken by these storms over the weekend. And, tornadoes are one of those things that we know that they could be spawned in hurricanes and all, so we deal with tornadoes, but not quite the way they do it in the Midwest. And, boy, it was a really, really tragic event over the weekend.
Yeah, and, when you looked at the before and after pictures, you just realized, my gosh, the width of this tornado is, wow. And it destroyed 75% of some town in Kentucky, and you look at those before and after pictures, and it's like, geez, in Alabama they've had them, they have them occasionally in Georgia, but not to this extent.
No,
this is one of those that's way up there.
The lady I was talking about that was on social media now, she was trapped in a candle factory up in Kentucky.
Right.
They feared over 70 people were dead in that candle factory. Now, thank goodness, and I know that this, when I say thank goodness, I don't cheapen anybody's death. I hate that anybody perished in this situation, but only 16 confirmed dead in that candle factory now, instead of over 70 that they originally thought.
Yeah, because they were like, well, it was full when it got hit. And there was very little notice, and I think a lot of people were like, well, I'm in this big building. I should be safe. Nope. No.
Well, 300 plus mile an hour winds. It was a five tornado, and on the scale, and that's over 250 mile an hour winds.
Unbelievable.
That's just the destruction that can pass, and it moves like a hurricane moves. But a hurricane, even the most powerful hurricane, 165, 170 mile an hour winds. By the way, which is destruction beyond belief, and it batters you for 12, 14 hours. So it is horrible destruction. but a tornado races through like a freight train and runs through things just like a freight train runs through a car set on a track. And it's quick, it's violent, and then the devastation and the shock starts to set in. And I experienced a tornado like that one time in my life. We were on vacation in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the hotel we were staying in Tulsa, the half we were in didn't sustain any damage. Other half of the hotel gone, ripped off its moorings.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing, isn't it? It's just the randomness where a building across the street is untouched, and then all around it completely destroyed. That's a hard part to get your brain around.
And we have tornadoes here, but usually, for the most part, they're F0 or F1s. They still are very powerful, right, but they're not the types of tornadoes that they experience with those super thunder cells that, you know, the storm chasers get after out in the Midwest. The movie Twister so falsely showed on TV, on the movie screen. It was a good movie, not very accurate, but a good movie. But it
wasn't a good movie.
It
wasn't a good movie.
It had Helen Hunt in it. That was good enough for me.
Oh,
it's good enough for me.
You're a Helen Hunt fan?
Oh, you know, my first wife, you know, she was like, if you had one, what is it that you get one hall pass? Who is it?
Yeah, sure.
I didn't even think about Helen Hunt. Didn't even think about it.
Wow.
But that was, now remember,
really?
This was 25 years ago, 30 years ago, 25,
so
28 years ago.
Mad about you?
Yeah.
That was when her mad about, wow.
That Helen Hunt.
All right.
Yeah.
Good for you.
You know, pretty hey. Something about the girl next door look from Helen Hunt that got me. But then that movie, then the movie Twister came out with Bill Paxton. I was like, okay, maybe I need to rethink this. Maybe I should.
Well, you're probably like, I have a chance.
Well, if Bill Paxton does, you know, Bill Paxton's greatest movie. Everybody wants to say Tombstone, you know, where he played one of the. It was Chet. It was Chet in Weird Science, without a doubt.
Weird Science.
Without a doubt, it was the best ever. He was Chet in Weird Science.
Yeah, I mean, I
blowing these cigar smoke rings in their faces.
Well, who's even questioning that?
But I bet if you put it out there on Facebook, best Bill Paxton movies, Tombstone would come back as one of them.
No, you couldn't even be friends with that person.
No, you couldn't, because they don't know Bill Paxton's terrible movie career.
Well, we don't even know you. Then it's like, well, we're not really friends because I don't really know you. The people I know and I'm friends with understand where Weird Science is the top 5 movie of all time.
It's such a great movie. When they go to the Blues Club,
it's fantastic. On the telephone,
Anthony Michael
every
Hall,
single night. Yeah.
You know, I got to work security for him before. When he made the movie, when he made the movie Johnny Be Good, which was about a high school quarterback getting recruited. I don't know if you remember the movie or not. And Anthony Michael Hall played the stud quarterback, which was so against anything he had done up to that point.
And who was his co-star?
Yeah, I forget.
Oh, come on!
I forget.
He's Iron Man.
Yeah. Was
Man
Robert Downey Jr. Was Robert because Robert Downey Jr. was his antagonist in Weird Science.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. People don't realize how many times their paths cross.
Yeah, but he came to a teenage dance club where I was working the front door, and he's like, dude, I got a bunch of 40-year-old adults taking care of me in security. They bore me to death. You guys want to do it? And he paid us like $100 a day to ride around in a limousine with him, party with him, and go stand at malls and make sure 16-year-old girls didn't maul him to death. It was fantastic. It was fantastic.
Yeah,
he could party, brother. Let me just put it there. It was the late '80s. He could party.
If you want, I can go through his whole career.
Well,
you could argue that without Vacation, he has no career.
He has no career. You're right. He stole the show at Vacation over in the original. Hey, we got to take a break. We're up against a hard break. We'll come back and talk more about Anthony Michael Hall at this timeout on 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Ocala International Airport, this is WOCA AM, W242CA FM, Ocala, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
The death toll from tornadoes that devastated towns in Kentucky may well surpass 100.